Okay, well, let's see. It's 5 after, 6 after. Let's wait 4 minutes till 10 after, and then we'll start, regardless of who's here.
All right, let's make sure all the streaming engines are running.
There he is.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Uh-oh. Here comes a cat. You stay over there.
For some reason, he's really into Steve.
They're like cats listen to what you tell them.
I know. He's just, for some reason, he has to come over there and he doesn't
Right.
understand. No. So I'm like, you may have Alzheimer's for all I know. He doesn't listen. He just stares
No,
at you and tries again.
He's a cat. They never pay attention.
Well, Buddha's pretty good.
Buddha's trained you.
All right.
Yeah, Buddha's like, I had him from, a week or two old. So I started right from scratch. Though I did with Widget too. But Widget just doesn't listen as much as Buddha does. So there's layers of smartness, I'm a cat, or no, I'm a person cat. All right, well then let's see. It's 7:07. Rick, you're here. So why don't we just start? So welcome everyone to our Apple Cider May meeting on the 8th today. We had some sunshine, which was great. Now we're back to rain and cold, which, it is what it is in Rochester. So, all right, Steve, I guess I should say welcome to anybody who's new. I don't know if there's anybody new here, and it's great to see everybody else like Frank. So, all right, Steve, take it away. What do you want to start with? News? I know there's a lot of news.
Yeah, we've got new Apple products out. So that's probably going to be the biggest news. Let me turn on my...
Steve,
Yes.
I'm going to bug you right off the bat and ask you if you can bump up the YouTube volume at all for you.
I'm already peeking in the red. Let me try to get it higher.
Are you? Okay, no, that's fine. You're audible. I just didn't want you to...
Input.
Don't worry about it.
Headset. Let's go up a little more. Okay. Let me get in my monitor running here too. Too many things happening at once. Test, test, test.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Back to here. Oh. And I'm going to here. Okay. All right. Screen share has started. But I don't see it starting. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
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 That's interesting. I don't see my screen.
Yes, we see it. It's fine.
So how do I get... There it is. There we go.
I think it's the screen.
Okay, now I need to do this. Focus. Okay. Now everybody can see it. So basically, this was an iPad event. The excuse I can't talk. I'm in a bad profession for that. So basically, the iPad lineup has been shifted. The Mini was not changed, so that uses still uses the A15 processor. The 10th gen dropped to 349 because the 9th gen has been discontinued. So that means that now all the iPads are using USB-C. None of the iPads have the home button left anymore. They're all the minimal bezel design. But the 10th gen is still using the A14 processor. So that's the basic entry-level iPad, and it's probably the most iPad anyone would actually need. Available in the same 4 colors that it was. What's interesting is that 349 is the 64 gig model. For most people, we'd recommend trying to get to the 256 gig model, although it's $150 more for quadruple the storage, because 64 gigs can get pretty tight, especially if you take a lot of photos.
Steve, may I safely assume that none of them has an earphone jack anymore?
I thought they all did.
No, well, I got rid of it on the Pro when I bought mine about 3 years ago. And I just can't imagine that they would debase themselves with an earphone jack on an iPad anymore.
Let me see. So yeah, so you can use the USB-C connection for earphones if you want.
There's an adapter.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a USB-C to 1/8 inch jack if you want to use old style audio analog headphones.
I looked into one of those adapters when I first got the thing, and it was not successful. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I mean, lots of adapters are out there. It just was a matter of what the adapter would do, like give you your earphone and pass power through at the same time or something like that, you know.
Well, Apple's adapter is earphone only. There are
hubs. There were other
third-party adapters that had both. Yeah, we've got a few of those as well. The biggest news is, well, no, let's go back. We'll go to iPad Air, the next model up now. Now it comes available in 11 and 13-inch models. So now you can get a big iPad with a lower price because it's the older M2 it's the older M2 processor. So the M2 is already ridiculously fast. The 11-inch model for $599, the 13-inch model for $799. So now we're encroaching on the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, which is $1099. But that comes with a keyboard, which you can get for the iPads as well. Comes in the same 4 colors it did, and that let me pick the color first. Nope, I have to start with 11. Let's go. No, actually, no. The purple is new, although I would call that more of a lavender. And they also now start at 128 base storage. So for $599, the storage went up. It used to be 64 gigs of storage for $599. And it goes up to 1 terabyte if you need a whole lot of storage. The other thing that's a little weird, the cellular model's up to $150 difference. It used to be $130. But most people probably don't need to have cellular in the iPad because you can use your phone as a hotspot. One of the few exceptions we see is field service agents, where the company is paying for the cellular data, so they pay for the cellular iPad to begin with. So this uses the M2 processor, which we have seen in the laptops now. They have rearranged the camera, which is now at the top, and the charging pencil. In landscape mode, now most of the iPads are designed to run in landscape mode. So with your camera at the top in landscape mode. And Apple has started using the AI term instead of machine learning. They've always called it machine learning or large language models, but now they have started to use the AI term because everyone else is saying AI, so we better have AI. And there's also a new Pro pencil that we'll talk about in a bit. So now there's 4 pencils to choose from, depending on which iPad you have. So fortunately, they discontinued one of them, so there's only 3 to confuse you.
I used to know how to use a pencil. Now I don't know how to use any of those new Apple pencils at all.
Well, the current pencils, except for the new one now, basically replace your finger. That's pretty much all it does. So I find I get a numb fingertip even using the trackpad on the laptop, let alone the iPad, which you swipe only. The Pencil Pro has a squeeze option, which does other things. Let's see. So we've got the colors. Yep, each of the 4 colors. So the space gray, the starlight are existing colors, and then the purple and the green. No, they call that blue. I would call that more green than blue. It's a different blue than the current iPad Airs. Again, the 11 and 13 inch. What's interesting, it might say in here in the tech specs. Let's go to tech specs. The 11 inch is actually 10.9, and the 13 inch is actually 12.9. They have the diagonal measurement here. Yeah, 10.86, which rounds up to 10.9, which rounds up to 11. So it's the same size as the old 11-inch Air, the 10.9-inch Air, and then the 13-inch is 12.9, which rounds up to 13. We mostly said 11 and 13 anyway when we were talking about sales, because it's so difficult to do the points. So the M2 processor, you've got the 4 performance cores, 4 efficiency cores, 10 GPU cores, 16 neural cores, 8 gigs of RAM. So this is pretty much the same chip that is running the current M2 Air for $999. So the MacBook Air has an M3 model out now, so that's a bit faster yet. Pretty much everything else is the same on the audio. They did make the speakers are now landscape, so they're pretty much acknowledging the fact that most people use the iPad in landscape mode. And then it has all the apps. It comes with Apple's Pages, Keynote, Numbers app. They highlighted a couple of apps in the announcement. Some financial apps. When we get to the next iPad, they talked about the Procreate. Let me see. Does this have the keyboard option? That's probably down here. And let me zip by pencil. So the pencil still magnetically attaches and magnetically charges. The Magic Keyboard with and without the trackpad is available. So basically turns it into a laptop. Let's see, you can shoot 4K video. And 100% recycled aluminum, so they're really going all in on the recyclability. And in fact, one of the things we read is that it doesn't come with the Apple stickers anymore, so they can cut down on the plastic waste in the box. So the iPad Air starting at $599 for the 11-inch, or $799 for the 13-inch, and then moving up to the iPad Pro. Also available in 11 and 13 inch. Very thin, and in fact the iPad Pro is thinner and lighter than the iPad Air, which the original design goal was it was thin and light as air because the other ones were so much more heavy.
Quick note, if you are not currently talking, it's best to mute your mic so that we don't pick up a lot of extraneous noise.
Thank you, Rick.
In response to that, Rick, I'm going to say that when I'm not in full screen mode, I watch the top to see if my name lights up.
Yep.
If people think that they're getting feedback from me, fine, and I'll mute myself here, but it depends on where it's coming from.
Yeah, Mastermind will automatically light up the person that's talking in the upper left corner of the screen. Well, no, not actually the person that's talking, the person it's hearing noise from, and that noise could be talking. So the MacBook Pro, 5.1 millimeters, not including the camera bump. They were criticized a little bit about that because they used to criticize Samsung phones for not including the bump. They are using mini LED. Let me back up and pause this. Mini LEDs, so the backlight and the color come from the same pixel. And so they call this the Ultra Retina XDR. In fact, they had to use two separate LED layers to get enough pixels. And let's see. Go to 3. And they surprised everyone by going to the M4 chip. We all expected the MacBook, the iPad Pro to go to an M3, but they jumped right past it to the M4. So now we have iPads with M4 chips, and the laptops only have M3 chips. So we're all confused again. They also removed the ultra-wide camera from the Pro, which confused some people. There's studies must have shown that people didn't use that wide camera as much as they expected. Very, very thin. They really touted how thin it was. Let's see, this should... One of these shows us the LCD panel. What's kind of crazy is you're looking at how great the screen is on your computer screen, which may not be all that great. So it can't really show you how great things are. Full screen brightness is 1000 nits, peaks at 1600 nits. The screen can do 120 hertz refresh. The iPad Pro has the ProMotion refresh, so when nothing is happening on screen, it can drop to as low as 10 hertz, and thereby use a whole lot less battery to keep your battery running longer.
Now, is the number of nits nitpicking?
Yes. I think we looked it up once, and a nit is equal to a candela, which is 1 candle per square meter. So if you get 1,000 candles in a square meter, that's how bright it is.
Yeah, that's why I wear sunglasses whenever I'm on my computer now.
Yeah, so here's the array of, they're using OLED panels. I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. I said mini LED before. They're using OLED. And they have to use 2 panels together to get enough pixels because it's such a high resolution. So brighter, sharper, crisper, faster. I think that's Assassin's Creed. Yeah, based on the M4 processor. So 4 times faster than the M2. Usually when they tout the new chip, they go back to the oldest chip to say how much better it is. So the M2 is twice as fast as the M1, so then the M3 was twice as fast as the M2, and now the M4 is twice as fast as the M3 and 4 times faster than the M2. And they call it a rocket chip. The marketing people must really have a ball making up some of these names.
Yeah, but what are they going to go to after rocket?
Yeah. Starship. No. SpaceX is already doing that. All right, so the Apple Pencil Pro has a couple of extra features now, in that it has a squeeze button on the side. And, come on, run the animation. So you can squeeze it and bring up a tool palette. So they showed a lot of things in Procreate, which is probably one of the most popular professional graphics creation programs available for the iPad. There's also an accelerometer and a gyroscope in the pencil. So if you rotate the pencil while you're drawing, you can change the orientation of the line that you're drawing. Yep, here it is. So if you roll your pencil, it changes the line. And when you basically you squeeze it to do a click, you'll feel a haptic feedback click. So even though there's no physical button, there's just a sensor, you'll feel that click. And it has a feature called hover, where you don't even need to touch the iPad surface to activate a tool. And you can double tap to switch between tools or switch into an eraser mode. So a lot of this is very familiar for people that have a Wacom tablet.
I was going to say, I almost think I would have to turn off that hover feature because it would drive me crazy. Is there a way to do that?
Probably. You just touch the screen anyway. And then it charges magnetically clips to your iPad, and they've also added Find My, so you can use Find My to locate your pencil. We've had a lot of people come in that they lost their pencil and had to buy a new one. So Pencil Pro works on the new iPad Air and iPad Pro. Pencil with USB-C works on the older iPads with USB-C. And then Pencil 2 and Pencil 1 work on different models yet. There's a chart we'll get to at the end.
My wife just lost her pencil.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You going to buy her a new one?
No way.
As soon as you buy one, you'll find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So the new Magic Keyboard, they've added a function row key to the keyboard. Apparently there was enough of a call for function keys that they brought those back. So that experiment a few years ago where they replaced the function keys with the touch bar is long forgotten. Now we have our function keys back.
Yeah, I thought that would fail.
Yeah, I like seeing Mom doing that.
So you've got the Magic Keyboard that has a USB-C port on it, so you can use that as a docking connector even. So you can plug in monitors and hard drives, and then when you dock your iPad to the keyboard, everything shows up as a connected device through the smart connector. And one of the articles I read on iMore was saying that basically this eliminates the need for a touchscreen iMac, because an iPad with a keyboard is so close to being what a touchscreen Mac would be, that Apple doesn't need to bother. Although there are still Mac programs that don't have iPad equivalents. Let's see, F keys we talked about. A more precise trackpad. And the haptic feedback to let you feel like you clicked it, even though there isn't a click. So it has the LiDAR scanner, 2 mics and 4 speakers, and you can capture in 4K ProRes so that it's super high quality. We're seeing a lot of documentary people using the iPad as their main camera. What individual people can do now with the iPad as their main camera, and then editing on the iPad, as we'll get to in a minute, is just amazing what you don't have to buy now. So the average person can do basically a full movie.
I'm sorry, Steve, did you say they've taken LiDAR off the camera?
No, they've added, the LiDAR is still there. They took off the ultra wide camera.
Right, okay. Later, maybe in Q&A, I'm gonna have a question about iPad cameras, but later, that'll be later.
There's a feature a lot of people don't necessarily know about. In the Notes app, you can scan a document, and it turns it into basically a PDF instead of a JPEG. So a lot of people, when they want to scan something, they'll just take a picture of it, but you get a JPEG picture. If you go into the Notes app, you can actually do a scan like a traditional flatbed scanner. And they've added additional machine learning features to help that scanning work better on the new iPad. So the LiDAR scanner lets you do 3D modeling. There's some really amazing 3D model software, even for free, that if you're doing 3D modeling or building AR experiences, and we can't call them programs, that it's really cool what you can do. Center stage is still there, so basically it uses the HD camera to mimic panning around so that whoever's talking stays on the center of the screen. First time we saw the demo of this, we wondered where they put the motor so that the iPad would move back and forth.
A while back, one of the online YouTube or whatever reviewers was complaining about the camera being on the end rather than the side of the iPad because of the problem with center screen or something like that. Maybe that's part of why they changed it. I don't know. I haven't had a problem with it. It seemed to center me okay, but
it was more because the camera was on the side and you were looking straight ahead. More often than not, your picture at the other end, they were seeing the side of your face.
Huh.
And a lot of that was the initial assumption that most people would use the iPad in portrait mode. And so now by moving the camera to the long edge and using it in landscape mode, it tends to work better. They've also, I forget what they call it, there's a feature where it will, in essence, mimic what's on your desk by changing how the camera is aiming in that HD window. So they had a demo of that once where they were showing somebody typing on a keyboard, and it could grab the keyboard. 4 studio quality mics. I don't know about that. 4 speakers. So the speakers do really good for as thin and tiny as they are. let's see. So the wide and ultra wide camera are there, but the ultra wide's on the front and wide is on the back. It used to have an ultra wide on the back too. Let's see. Yeah, so you can plug in, since the iPad Pro uses a Thunderbolt connection, it can drive Apple's 6K monitor. The iPad Air with USB-C can only drive the 4K monitor. So that's kind of handy to be able to bring your iPad back, plug it in, and you've got a, keyboard, mouse, monitor, just like you would with a laptop.
Is it just me or is Steve breaking up?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
he sounded to me like he was breaking up a bit.
I'm not getting any error indications in my audio. I'm going to shut down my YouTube monitor. You're monitoring YouTube, right, Charlie? I'm going to shut down my YouTube monitor so I don't have that stream running also. Yeah, because it's Thunderbolt 4, you can connect to pretty much anything, Thunderbolt or USB-C, hard drives, game controllers, Wi-Fi 6E built in, so it's ready for the next generation of Wi-Fi as soon as the 6E routers come out. Let's see, all the aluminum, pay over, okay. So let's go in and build one. So $9.99 for the 11-inch, $12.99 for the 13-inch. So the screen type is the same, the Ultra Retina XDR. Let's do space black. You can go up to 2 terabytes of storage. So again, we're even 512, 1 terabyte. We're in the computer arena for how much storage and power you're getting. Again, this is the M4 processor. They have a nano glass option available, which has much less glare than regular glass for $100 more. Let's add cellular just for the grins and giggles. Engraving is free. There we go. So we're effing expensive. And we can put some emoji in there too. Where's the one I wanted with the dollar signs in the eyes? May not have that one. So let's do that one. Oops. Because engraving is free. So the Apple Pencil Pro is $129, and that can also be engraved. The regular Apple Pencil is $79, and then we can add them. Nope, I have to say no engraving on the pencil. Now I can say I want the Magic Keyboard. And I'm going to say I have nothing to trade in. And we're at $3,000 for an iPad.
I'll take 2, please.
Kind of ridiculous.
It's
You might
still
as well get yourself a nice MacBook Pro for that price.
well, MacBook Pros max out at 6,000, 6 to 8,000, but they go to 8 terabytes of storage. So the iPad can only do 2 terabytes. only 2 terabytes. So theoretically, the stock models will be delivered next Friday. Custom orders may take longer. And I want to get into the M4 discussion. No, let's go back to here. The unbelievable M4 should be one of these options down here. Nope. So, is it under iPad Pro? They had a really nice animation of how the M4 worked. Let's see a closer look. We went through this, and I don't remember seeing the M4. Got display. There it is. M4 performance. So it's second generation of the 3 nanometer technology. So the traces on the chip are 3 billionths of a meter wide. It's just a fraction of the width of a human hair. And so up to 4 times faster 3D graphics rendering than the M2 models. So if you still have an old A series iPad, the new ones are going to be radically faster.
So if a solar flare hits, is it going to fry out your M4 chip?
If a solar flare hits you, that's the least of your problems. One of the things they've added to the M4 is an advanced ray tracing. I don't know how well this is working through the internet, but that's the M2 version. That's the M4 version. It's a clearer, sharper image in the M4. Graphics performance acceleration. Let's see. Final Cut Pro. They have significantly enhanced Final Cut Pro for doing video editing on the fly. There is also, this should be done, 38 trillion operations per second. So that's petaflops. In a tablet. That's almost ridiculous. So you can play back and edit up to 5 streams of 4K ProRes in Final Cut. So if you're not shooting in 4K ProRes, you can do even more streams. They've added hardware acceleration for AV1, which is a new graphics codec that actually Google proposed, which is better quality and better compression than H.265. So everything is new, bigger, better. It doesn't have, so maybe there's, let's look at the Final Cut. Final Cut Pro for iPad. Do they have this updated yet? One of the really cool new features is the ability to have 4 simultaneous camera inputs at once. And the previous version had a guitar option, and now they have added session musicians. No, I'm sorry. Previous version had a drummer. They've added guitar and bass, I think. So someone was joking on one of the blogs about session musicians are now endangered. There's a whole thing where a recording studio will have session musicians that play on hundreds of albums, so they play all the time. So you can have multiple cameras recording at once. There's a new app available for other iOS devices called Final Cut Camera that you run that on your other device and it feeds the camera into Final Cut on the master device. So now you have a multi-camera editing studio. A lot of automation now, using that AI name again, because we have AI now too. We have had all along. We just didn't call it that. Especially using the AI neural engine in the M4, being able to do everything bigger and faster. So here's an automatic mask. So they dropped in a background video and it automatically masks out the foreground. Now you may notice that my mask, that I have a blur mask behind me, at the edges it isn't all that good, because I've only got an M1 processor. But the better your processor, the better your mask can be. And especially now with the enhanced machine learning in the iPad Pro. Let's see. There was a button. Is that in here somewhere? You push a button and it reads the reads a video in, separates all of the speaker voices out into separate tracks, and then separates the audio track out from the video tracks. So it can automatically split apart your video to help you edit it later. And free. And Final Cut itself is $5 a year. No, I'm sorry, $5 a month or $50 a year. And it basically works on the iPad A15 or better. But of course, the iPad Pro with the M4 processor, you get all of the extra faster effects that the M4 gives you. And then it ties into Final Cut on your Mac as well. So it used to be you'd take it to your Mac, which had a bigger screen and a more powerful processor, but now the iPad does, so you can do it there too. Unplug the big screen from your Mac and plug it into your iPad. And for more home user type things, iMovie, and for the Instagram crowd, you've got Clips. So Apple has different levels of video editing software for a lot of different options. And they have a free trial. So if you want to play with it before you actually buy it, although it's only $5 for a month, you can do that free trial if you like.
And there's also the new Logic Pro 2
Yep.
for the iPad.
Yeah. Oh, and similarly, you've got Logic Remote, so that you can put this on another device and be able to send your audio from that device into Logic. So with Logic, it's an audio editing workstation, basically a full audio recording studio built into an iPad. $5 a month or $50 a year again. And they've added more session players to sit in with you. So they had again, they had drum, and they've added bass and keyboard. So you can play lead guitar. There used to be a program called Band in a Box that and actually GarageBand is kind of the little brother of Logic for average people, making music with pre-built instrument loops and pre-built tracks.
Band in a Box is still out there.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Nice. So keyboard, bass, drummer, studio bass, studio piano, and chord tracks. So you can go through chords. So if you don't have any music ability, you can have all the AI players. Your own studio assistants. So I've read an interesting thing from a comedian who was remarking is that we're doing AI wrong. We don't need AI to paint or draw or write. I want AI to do the laundry. I want AI to make dinner.
That's all true.
Yep. So much amazing things that they have added. So if you get the chance, go ahead and watch the event. It was actually less than an hour, and they have a lot of interesting details. And hopefully, as soon as people get their hands on them next week, we'll start seeing real world examples. So from this invitation, before the event came out, everyone was absolutely sure it was iPads, because you have a person spinning around an Apple Pencil. Let me bring up the Apple Pencil chart. Apple Pencil. Oops, lost it. So if you are going to buy a pencil, you have 4 different options. Where was the chart? So if you have, so at least, there we go. At least they renamed this one. So we had the Apple Pencil, and then we had the Apple Pencil, and then we had the Apple Pencil, and now we have the Apple Pencil Pro. So we all parenthetically have first gen, second gen, USB-C. So the crazy thing is Apple Pencil USB-C came out after the second gen, but it doesn't have as many features as the second gen. It doesn't have the pressure sensitive. So it's more like a 1.5 gen. So it shows the different features of each pencil. And then you have to pick which iPad you've got to know which pencil to buy. And so let me see, what iPad do I have here? It's an older one. General about iPad Pro 10.5. So I can only get Apple Pro first generation. So that's probably one of the easiest answers. If your iPad has a lightning jack, then you would have to use the Apple Pencil first generation, because it's the one that has lightning. All of the other pencils are USB, well, not all of them. Pencil 2 is lightning. Yep. All right, forget what I said. I forgot. Different generations. So Pencil 2 is lightning. USB-C pencil is USB-C. Pencil 2 is magnet. Pencil Pro is magnet. I can't keep it all straight myself. That's why we like these charts to see what you have and which you can use. And then, so as I mentioned, the iPad mini didn't change. Let's go back up to the top
We
here.
want new iPad minis. When are they coming out?
Well, the iPad mini already uses the A15 processor. Let me go compare. So if we do, well, let's do this. Air iPad mini 6th gen. So the 6th gen iPad mini is already better than the 10th gen in terms of processor and capabilities. It's got a wider color gamut. It has a faster processor. You're paying more for the smaller screen, which is interesting, because it does have the faster processor in it. So the 10th gen is $349 and the mini is $499.
When was the last time the iPad mini was revved?
It's been a couple of years. Is it Mac Rumors that has the buyer's guide? Yeah, buyer's guide. There was a, yeah, here we go. So iPad mini, yeah. So iPad mini is in a don't buy because it's been 967 days since it was last updated. But if you look at its history, it doesn't get updated very often, every 3 or 4 years.
Well, September 2021. I mean,
Yeah.
it's over. It's almost 3 years, right?
But it already has the A15, which is basically an M1. And then the 10th gen, where's the button that says 10th gen? Yeah, the 10th gen is the A14. So it came out in October of 22. But by discontinuing the 9th gen, and they dropped the price of the 10th gen by over $100, they are positioning that now as the entry level. So I don't expect either the iPad or iPad mini to get updated for another year yet, because the mini is already using the M1 basically. So the next upgrade would be probably the iPad Air going to an M3, and the iPad mini going to an M2, and the iPad going to an M1. And then so because the Air and Pro just came out now, they're on a buy now because they're new. And previous generation models have dropped in price, so that if you don't need the latest whiz-bang features, you can get a previous generation. All right, let me go back to compare. So if you have an iPad that's more than 2 or 3 years old, you may be ready for an upgrade. One of the things that we have seen, especially in the iPad world, is that people tend to keep their iPads longer and maybe not upgrade for 4 or 5 years, because they're all pretty fast as it is. In fact, I was helping a customer set up an iPad 2 today. It can only go to OS 9, but all he wants to do is take pictures with it. Okay, sure. All right, if we go to all models, yeah.
I use my iPad to take pictures of my gas and electric meters.
Yep. to get outside, yeah. And yep, so that goes back to all the previous ones. Alrighty, any questions?
So Steve, I have an iPad mini 4, I think, isn't it? How long to when I should be able to upgrade?
You can upgrade anytime you want.
I know. I'm just saying is
Yep.
it's still doing fine, but I'm just saying is there's a point beyond which it should be upgraded to get a new one.
Yeah, it's probably getting near that point. And you like them, so a lot of people like the mini size because it
Yep, I
fits in a
like it
purse
much
better.
better than the regular.
I like the mini weight.
And it costs half again more than the regular iPad.
Yeah.
Well, it's portable. It fits in places, especially for a woman in her purse, right? And it's thin, but of course, when you put a cover on it, it gets a little heavier.
So if we go to mini, 10th gen, and Air. So part of the problem is Apple has 3 iPads that are 11 inches and 2 iPads that are 13 inches. So you have to, no, I'm going to do this way. 10th gen and 11-inch Air.
Well, some of them don't have very much color.
Yeah, sometimes that can be a deciding factor.
I mean, if they're all gray.
So the mini comes in pink and a deeper purple.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
put whatever
10th
case
gen is
color you
blue.
want on the thing. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
color
I mean,
is.
it covers up so much of the body of it, you don't even know what color the iPad is, to be honest.
Yeah.
And my iPhone, it's like I picked it because it was purple, but when I got it, it was like gray purple. And by the time I put a case on it, it has what, 1 inch of color
Yeah.
that I could see on the whole thing.
And even Apple's purple, so the iPad Air purple is more of a lavender, where the mini purple is
I went
is
lilac
is
purple.
like, yeah. And the 10th gen blue is pretty blue, but the Air blue is more green.
You know, I guess if you didn't have a cover on it and use one of those little pop socket things to hold it,
Yeah.
then you would see the color. But if you put a cover, it doesn't really matter.
And interestingly, the Pro is only available in black and silver.
Neutral.
Just like the MacBook Pros. The Air comes in more colors.
Well, put a cover on it and you can have any color you want.
Yep.
All right. Is that it for the news? What is it? News, blues, and
Well, that's
all the news?
that's the new iPads. We also had Apple's quarterly results came out. Oh, I haven't read this one yet. Does the iPad lineup make sense? Yeah, yes and no. So by eliminating the 9th gen, they basically cut it from 5 models to 4. So that makes it a little easier. If you want the cheapest one, you go for the iPad. And if you want a little more power, then you go for the Air. If you want all the power, you go for the Pro. If you want the smallest, you go to the Mini. So they're kind of differentiating that way. But the difference is the Mini is 64 storage, and the for $499, and then the 10th gen is 64 storage for $349. So that's the same price. So you get the 10-inch for $500 with 256 storage, or the Mini for 64 storage for $500. So you've got a crossover there. Let me get down to quarter here. That's the statements. I want the actual report. That's the transcript. There we go. So bottom line, $90.8 billion in revenue. So that's really good. So you can kind of see the trend: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. First quarter is the Christmas quarter, so that's where the biggest jumps are. Breakdown by category, 51% of Apple's revenue is from phone. Computers and iPads are both relatively small, but even together, they're a tiny, they're a fraction of services and phones. So it's one of the reasons Apple dropped computer from their name. Computers are a very small part of their business. Profit, $23 billion in profit, which was down 4%. Revenue was down 4% over the year. So Wall Street doesn't like that. Let's see, revenue, there you go. Mac revenue was down a little bit, $7.5 billion. So,
How did the Vision Pro sales go? Do you know?
I don't know if they break those out. That's probably part of wearables. Let's see, iPad year over year was down 17%, mostly because they didn't come out. We think they didn't come out with a new iPad last year, so there was no real big incentive to buy a new one. So this quarter is probably going to be really big for iPad sales. Phones are relatively flat, down 10% over the year. Services, that's a nice steep climb. $24 billion. Someone pointed out that if you broke out each of Apple's segments into their own company, they'd be another 5 of the Fortune 100. Now, gross margin is 46%. That's very, I don't know what's the word I want. It doesn't really take into effect, they don't make a 40% margin on every product. So you can't go into the store and demand 30% off, because then they still make 10%. But because they do so much R&D work, and they have such a big return on that, their gross percentage is higher. So wearables were down for the quarter, but that's just because it's after the Christmas quarter. I'm guessing they haven't pulled out the Vision Pro into a separate line item. No. But there was a report that Apple has reduced the orders from vendors. Let me see, is this the right one? No, this is too old. There was a report out that Apple has reduced the number of orders from 800,000 to 400,000. But we don't. Yeah, Ming-Chi Kuo is reporting that. Apple doesn't report anything close to that, but Ming-Chi Kuo has his ear to the supply chain, so he's getting stories. Apple expected to sell 400,000 units. Now they were initially expected to sell 800,000 units, but those are all guesses because no one inside Apple is actually talking. I expect to see more information at WWDC next month. Probably the new version of Vision OS software. So right now, the Vision is mostly designed for developers who are going to be writing programs to let somebody else do something cool. And hopefully we'll start seeing that as a growth product in the future as part of their wearables, which was so wearables is 9% of Apple's gross revenue, and where was there we go. So wearables, $7.9 billion for the quarter. Yeah. But even though that was down 10% over last year. It's always crazy that the stock market goes on growth. So it doesn't matter that Apple made, $1 billion a day, $90 billion for the quarters. They're making $1 billion in revenue a day. If they don't hit their projection, that was supposed to be $1.5 billion a day, then the stock penalizes them. Let me see what it. Yep, so it's dropping down a little bit.
I think Apple was going to buy back some of the public stock.
Yeah, they've been doing that pretty much every quarter, which theoretically increases the value of the stock for the people that already own it. So what was this? On Thursday, May 2nd, there was a spike. What happened on Thursday, May 2nd?
That was last Thursday.
Yeah.
Must have been some good news.
That wasn't the quarter, was it? Announcements?
But quickly, we can't
Oh,
remember
yeah.
a week ago.
That was. May
Yeah.
2nd was when the quarter announcements came out. So, yeah, they announced 90 billions in revenue, a record in services, and so stock jumped from 170 to 185.
Yeah, but that didn't happen until the next day because they didn't announce it until 5 o'clock.
Well, this article was posted on May 2nd at 1:38. So it's usually
2, 3 Pacific time.
there it
That
is.
was Pacific time.
Pacific
So it's-
time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so May 2nd, Apple announced their quarter. Doesn't say what time.
Usually it's like
two-
either 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
2 p.m. conference call in Pacific.
That's 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's 5 o'clock here.
So it
It
must have
could
been
have been just anticipation of the report and probably whatever leaks
or
that were out there.
after hours trading.
Craziness.
Yeah, and they're going to buy back $110 billion in shares.
Yep. What do you think? Time for a break?
Probably. Anyone else have any news type stuff? We knew that. New logic, knew everything. Quarterly results. Swift challenge. Oh yeah, so IHG Hotels and Resorts is adding AirPlay by putting in LG TVs in all of their hotel suites, and LG TVs have AirPlay built in. So they own a bunch of different brands. So 60 IHG hotels in North America are getting AirPlay now. Ooh. Yeah, they're ahead of schedule for going 100% green by 2030. In fact, part of their commitment is that all their suppliers are going to be green too. So every time we have a meeting with our Apple representatives, they always ask us what we're doing to go green, because it reflects on them.
How are you a supplier of theirs?
We're not we're not a supplier. We're a reseller. So we apparently reflect Apple's businesses some as well.
Tell me you use green paint.
Yeah. Alrighty. So does Shirley? I think I heard Shirley walk away. So it's about what, 8:16? Shall we take about a 10 or 15-minute break and come back?
Sounds good.
Alrighty. Cat, you gotta move. Move. Don't step on the remote. Move.
Where did everybody go? They all left.
Ran away. Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
What'd you say?
I just had a weird idea. Diego, you are being troublesome. I just had I just had a weird idea. As our attendance falls off, can we create AI attendees so that if someone looks at our meeting online, it looks like we have lots of people?
Yeah, you
They
Well,
will all have to be different.
can pay
Well,
people to do that.
you could go and get cardboard cutouts and put them in every room, and then you'd have to
Wow.
have them log in as somebody else.
I got my
No,
sweater.
no.
You could make an AI, but he's in every room of your house somewhere, so that each person can manipulate so many people,
Huh?
right?
Mm-hmm.
I may pursue this idea next week.
Well, Charlie, I was at RGH this week, right? Because
Really?
the couple that I'm a companion for, his wife is in the hospital. She just got transferred to the Jewish home today. But anyways, we were taking him up from radiation oncology up to see his wife, and there's a robot in the hospital in the new wing, that big new building off to the one end.
Do they call it doctor?
So I didn't get a chance to take a picture of it, but it was walking the halls, and I asked the one girl, I said, what is this for? Because it stopped, looked at us, and then turned around, walked away, and couldn't get it to come back.
They don't call it doctor, though.
No, and they said they use it to transport. So they have a robot walking around the hall.
Dr. Robot.
His name is Maxie, I think she said.
And so what is his purpose? What does he do?
And he has like a box or something by the side, by the base of it, and it carries prescriptions around and delivers them around the hospital, or maybe that part of the wing or whatever. But it just does this thing. It's got a little scrub cap on its head. It's got a little screen on it for its face and everything, 2 eyes. I wish I could have.
Is this at RTH or
We were down by the elevators, by the green elevators in the basement.
Doesn't have a stethoscope.
I don't know, but he was just doing his thing, and I thought, how cute.
Now, so does he delivers to like a nurse's station or
Yeah,
to
that
patient?
kind of thing. It doesn't
Okay.
go to the patients, but
Yeah.
it's for the staff to kind of
Okay,
use it.
but
to
it's a
explain
cute
things.
thing to look at too.
Yeah, and it's sort of, but you kind of stop and go,
Yeah.
what's this? Right? And you're curious, and of course it came over the first time, and it looks at you, then it keeps on going. And kept trying to call it back, saying, "Hey, you, come back!" And it kept on going off. It was going pretty fast, I have to say. So, but it was interesting because I didn't know they had a robot. Or maybe they have Bad Dog next, right? Those little dogs, you can have a backpack on and you can carry provisions. All right, Steve, are you set?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ken, I gave you presenter access if you want to show your screen, or however you're going to talk about duplication.
Oh, are you missing somebody then?
Rick is watching on YouTube now.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess, Steve, you can start whenever you want to.
Ken is starting.
Oh, Ken, sorry, the two of you.
I'm trying to.
You should have a share screen button in the bottom center.
Right.
And then you pick if you want a Chrome tab or a window from another application.
Yeah. How do I get that another application?
Choose it from the list in the center tab.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Well, let me see where it is. Did everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. It's kind of small on my screen. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like that. But anyway,
You can hit the zoom button in the upper right corner to make it bigger.
say that again.
You can click the zoom button, the 4 arrowheads in the upper right corner.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about a program called SuperDuper. There's a couple other programs can do the same thing, but I like I'm sorry, it's Carbon Copy Cloner. There's another program called SuperDuper which does the same thing, which copies your hard drive, or if you want to make a backup of your hard drive, you can do this. And I know that people use Time Machine to do this, and you can also use the disk utility to use this. And but Carbon Copy Cloner, I think, is very simple. Plus, you have some other things in it. One of the things I just wanted to point out to you, there's big news, big news, which I will explain at the end of this presentation. Okay. So just if you're planning on leaving, just hang on for this big news. Okay. So what is Carbon Copy Cloner? Well, I can take a look at this list. We all know what a carbon copy is, or dittos. We all used to smell the dittos, and the teachers used to wonder why we were so crazy in the afternoon after smelling all those dittos and everything. And yeah, you're laughing, Linda. Yeah,
I remember.
Oh yeah. And being a teacher, I have some old files that I've taken out, and let's see, do they still have that smell in it, the ditto smell? Anyway, Carbon Copy Cloner is a great program. It's very simple to use, and it's used to you can do a backup, and I use this quite a bit. I have maybe 4 or 5 different external hard drives, which I make a copy of different things. A couple of them are a copy of my hard drive on my main computer. A couple of them may be the photos. If I have photos or important documents that I make copies of, and it's very simple to make. So the first thing, if you go to the website, and I'm going to skip to this, the new, well, maybe I'll wait to that for later. But anyway, so you see the screen, I have Carbon Copy Cloner, and you can download it from Bombich, B-O-M-B-I-C-H.
I put links in the public chat.
Okay, .com, and you can download it and get a free download. And once you download it, basically, you start it up, and then I think you just drag it. And there's a couple things you have to do with permissions and going into the settings to the security settings and making sure you give permissions. But in the program, it will guide you through all that. Okay, but here, and you can all see, and I have up here Carbon Copy Cloner, and you can all see that on the screen. The
Yeah.
Carbon Copy Cloner.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing you want to do is, if you're going to make a copy, and one of the reasons why you want to make a copy is, and I use this quite a bit when I'm changing out hard drives in an iMac or a MacBook or a MacBook Pro. You want to have, especially when I use SSDs, I make a copy of the hard drive first using Carbon Copy Cloner before I put it into the computer. And if you have some sort of external disk drive that you can put your disk in and make a copy of it, or if you have something where you can make a copy of it, this is where you would do it, and you go to the destination disk, okay, or the source disk, and this is where you're going to choose what hard drive you're going to use to copy. So, for example, if I use Schultz hard drive, iMac SSD, now I want to pick a destination to put that in and copy that data. So what I would do very simply is, let's say I go to Schultz number 3, okay, and this is going to basically copy the whole hard drive, okay, as if it was, your original hard drive. So when I take that destination disk and put it in another computer, it's going to start up like my old hard drive, and that's the big advantage of using this program, is that it does it very seamlessly, and you are able to copy everything. And one of the things, when you go to the destination disk, okay, right over here, you want to make sure that let me see, where is, okay, it should have something where the safety net is off, and I don't see that on here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back over here onto mine. If you take a look, can you see this over here where it says safety net? It doesn't show up on.
Is it a button?
Well, when I right click on it, it comes up with safety net.
Yeah, it does. It only shows the window. It doesn't show mouse clicks.
But anyway, if you right click right over right here, there's something called safety net, which you want to disable and turn off. The safety net basically will keep some of your old information rather than over copying everything. It will keep your old information, and that could over time add up to a large taking up a large space on your disk. So I turn off the safety net, and there's another setting on here in which you can't see, and I don't know how we can show that, but it says.
And can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yeah.
I got two things. One is, am I understanding correctly that what you're showing us now is a process to use Carbon Copy Cloner to ultimately fill another drive that you are then, after that, going to install in a computer, so that when you install it, it's already got all the stuff in it that you want. Is that true?
Yes. Or it could copy. Let's say if you have connected hard drives, if you want to make copies of hard drives, it will do this over also. So it does two things. If you just want to do a copy to put it in another computer, or if you have it connected, this backup, this destination disk, if you have it connected, you can make a copy, like on my computer that I'm using now.
Okay. Now, my other question is, when you went into sharing your screen for the presentation, are you? It seems to me that allows you something like at least two and maybe three different options of what part of your screen you're going to share, either the window or the entire screen.
Yeah.
Or blah blah blah.
If you share.
And so the point is that maybe you're only sharing like the window part or something, or whatever it is, so that we're not seeing these buttons that you're talking about clicking on. And maybe you wanted to share the bigger picture, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to.
Yes, if you stop sharing this screen and then hit share screen again, you can choose the entire screen rather than just that window. That way we can see the rest of the interface as well.
Quick technical note, I just checked YouTube. Steve, your breathing is very heavy there, and I can barely hear Ken.
Charlie said I had to turn myself up.
Yeah, I know, and now Rick is monitoring you, so go ahead with what he's reporting in terms of what he's hearing. The reason I like to make sure that, Steve, that you don't disappear from the audio is when I go to do the minutes, I go back to the YouTube video, and if you're not loud enough, what you are saying does not appear in the transcript.
Okay, so I think now you can see my whole screen, correct?
Yep.
Let me see here.
Including the Mastermind Lounge window.
Right. So basically what I'm showing you here is the destination disk. Can everybody see that?
Right.
Okay, so now we should be able to see the drop-down menu.
Unfortunately, what this approach has done is to make what you are showing us smaller.
You gotta make that window bigger. The Carbon Copy Cloner window bigger.
How's that?
Bigger, but
Oh.
I'm not seeing what you were showing us a moment ago. But
He had.
Okay, hang on.
All right. Oh, hang on.
Okay. How about now?
Well, it's smaller, but it's only on one side of the screen. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to lower your resolution to make it look any bigger.
Okay.
Turn on your screen zoom.
So right down here,
Now
when you're making a copy, I don't know if you can see that.
it's off the bottom edge of the screen.
Yeah, move it up.
How about now?
Better. Still not all.
I'll move it to the left a little bit.
I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, God.
How about now?
Do what you did. Yeah, that's very good.
Okay, okay. So when you go down to here, what you want to do is make sure you, if you want to make your copy a bootable copy, you right-click and make it a legacy bootable copy assistant, and you click on it, and then I don't know if you can see this, and basically you want to allow it to erase the your drive to make a bootable copy, which isn't a bad idea. Now, the first thing that you could have done originally when you put in a new drive is to go to disk utility and erase the drive, but this will also do it if you click on this. Now, I'm not going to click on it because I still have stuff that on my drive, but this will make it a bootable drive. So when you go back up, and let me just bring this down over here. Okay. You can't see that. Let's see. Okay, so down at the bottom, basically the only thing you have to do is once you have selected your source disk and once you have selected your destination disk and you've made your selection of legacy bootable assistant, the other thing you want to do is turn off the safety net. This is what I talked about before. If you turn off the safety net, it will not copy and save older information. Okay, so if you're doing a new hard drive and you want to copy it, or if you want to copy your drive and not have old information, turn off the safety net, and then the only thing you have to do is click start, and then it's going to come up basically with this